It started with a knock on our fourth-floor window. Now my pet is dead, and it's coming tonight. There's a rhythm to the tapping on our window. A 3-beat pattern, like a sick heartbeat. Tap, 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 pause. The problem is, we're on the 4th floor. It started a few weeks back. I'd just gotten back from some god-awful mandatory weekend lecture. The campus was dead, the sky was the color of a bruise, and all I wanted was to collapse in my room. Our room. I remember dropping my bag, the thud echoing in the quiet. I went to check on Sharon, my betta-fish. He was a moody little bastard, all deep blues and angry flaring gills. But he was my anchor in this place. I sprinkled a few flakes into his bowl on the windowsill. That's when I heard it for the first time. Tap, tap, tap. Just a faint little noise. My first thought was the guys upstairs. Their room is directly above ours, and they have a talent for sounding like they're building a pipe bomb at 3 in the morning. I ignored it. I was nuking some leftover ramen when it happened again, a little louder this time. Tap, tap. I glanced over at the windowsill. Sharon was hiding behind his little fake rock, which was weird. He usually swam right up to the glass whenever I was near. I ate my dinner standing up in the kitchen alcove, listening. The tapping was patient. It wasn't frantic, not like a branch in the wind. It was deliberate. Who the hell would be knocking? My roommate, Zane, had a key. He was a good guy, if a little dense. A business major who thought Nietzsche was a brand of running shoe. But he wasn't the type to forget his keys and scale the side of the building as a prank. I walked to the door and opened it. The hallway was empty, smelling faintly of stale beer and desperation. Of course it was empty. My stomach felt tight. I walked to the window, my reflection a pale ghost against the dark glass. I took a breath and pulled the curtains aside. Nothing. Just the black sky and the orange glow of a distant streetlight. But the sound was still there, so close now. I pressed my ear to the cold pane. It was definitely coming from outside. As soon as my skin touched the glass, the tapping stopped. I waited. Nothing. I felt like an idiot. Zane got back an hour later, smelling of cheap vodka and someone else's perfume. "You hear a weird knocking sound earlier?" I asked, trying to sound casual. He laughed. "Dude, we're 4 stories up. You hitting the books too hard? I'm serious." It was coming from the window. "It's the building settling," he said, already pulling off his shirt. "This place is old as dirt. Or maybe it was the pipes. Everything's fucked here." That seemed plausible enough. He was already giving me that look, the one that said, "Great, my roommate is hearing voices." So I let it go. The next morning, Zane was the one who opened the curtains. He squinted at something. "Huh, weird. Look at this." I went over. Scratched into the weathered wood of the outer window frame was a small, perfect spiral. Like someone had taken a nail and patiently carved it there overnight. "Fucking art students," Zane mumbled, but he looked uneasy. I didn't tell him that I was an art student, or that the spiral made the hair on my arms stand up. Nothing happened for almost a week. I convinced myself Zane was right. It was the old building, the wind, my own overworked mind. Then, it came back. Zane was at his desk, headphones on, blasting some awful synth pop while he crammed for a midterm. I was trying to sketch, but my hands were shaky. Tap, tap, tap. "Zane," I said. No response. "Zane." He pulled one headphone off, annoyed. "What?" The second he did, the room went silent. "Nothing," I muttered, feeling my face get hot. He shot me a weird look and put the headphone back on. The instant it covered his ear, the tapping started again. Louder, more insistent. Tap, 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 tap. I couldn't take it. I put on my own headphones and cranked a playlist of harsh, industrial noise until my teeth vibrated. A few minutes later, a motion caught my eye. Zane had ripped his headphones off and was standing, frozen. His eyes were wide, fixed on the window. I pulled mine off. The tapping was still there. Loud and clear and undeniable. "What the fuck is that?" he whispered. "I told you," I said, my voice barely a croak. He lunged for the window and tore the curtains back so hard I heard the fabric rip. Nothing, just the blackness of the night. We stood there, shoulder to shoulder, staring out at nothing while the sound slowly faded away. Neither of us slept much that night. The next night was quiet. Too quiet. The morning after, as I went to open the curtains, I saw something on the narrow ledge. A dead pigeon. Its neck was twisted around at an angle that made me want to vomit. It hadn't flown into the glass. It had been placed there. An offering. Zane saw it and just walked out of the room. He came back with a plastic bag and a towel, his face pale. He carefully bundled the bird up and disposed of it without a word. When we got back, I saw the new mark on the frame, right below the spiral. A single word, jaggedly carved. Looking. We didn't touch the curtains that night. We didn't have to. The tapping started right after sunset, but it wasn't tapping anymore. It was banging. Hard, rhythmic thuds that shuddered the glass in its frame. It sounded like someone was trying to break their way in with their fists. We pushed my desk against the door, turned off the lights, and sat on our beds in the dark, listening to the assault on our window for hours. The days after that are a blur. We moved like ghosts around each other, the silence in the room heavier than any sound. The banging became a nightly ritual. I stopped sketching. Zane stopped going out. My fish, Sharon, died. I found him one morning floating at the top of his bowl. His vibrant blue faded to a sickly gray. He wasn't sick. He was just stopped. I flushed him down the toilet and felt like I was losing my fucking mind. Then, 2 nights ago, it changed. The banging had stopped. In its place was that original, patient rhythm. Tap. 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 I don't know why I did it. I felt like I was in a trance. I got out of bed and walked to the window. Zane was asleep, or pretending to be. I needed to see. I needed to know. I pulled the curtain back just an inch. At first, I only saw the hand. It was pale gray, the color of spoiled meat. And the fingers, fuck, there were too many of them, and they bent backwards at the knuckles as they tapped, tapped, tapped against the glass. My breath hitched, but I couldn't stop. I pulled the curtain open wider. The thing hauled itself up into view. Its skin was like wet clay stretched over a frame of broken sticks. It was tall and painfully thin. A lipless mouth, a gaping black slit, split its face, filled with what looked like ground-down pebbles. But the eyes. Its eyes weren't on its face. They were 2 wet black beads set deep in the flesh just above its collarbones, and they swiveled in their sockets to fix on me. It didn't smile. It didn't make a sound. It just watched me with those horrible chest eyes. It raised its other hand and pressed it flat against the glass. The palm left a greasy, opaque smear on the pane. Its mouth opened, and a sound vibrated through the window, a low, wet rasp. It was my name. I fell backwards, the scream tearing out of my throat. Zane shot up in bed, and his eyes locked on the window. He didn't scream. He just made a choked, gagging sound and scrambled away, pressing himself into the corner of the room. The thing's head tilted, its chest eyes shifting from me to Zane. Then, it started to scrape something against the glass. 2 tusks, yellow and curved like old bone, slid out from its lower jaw. It dragged them down the window pane with a sound like tearing metal, a sound that went right through my bones. Then it reached for the lock. We heard it. A metallic jiggle. A click. It was trying to open the window. That's when we both started screaming. Just raw, mindless screaming. And in the middle of our noise, it was gone. Not climbed down, not faded away. It was just not there anymore. The greasy handprint remained. That was last night. We spent the night with every light on, my heaviest textbooks piled against the window. We can't leave. We have nowhere to go, no money for a hotel. Who would we even tell? Campus security. Hey, there's a monster with chest eyes trying to open our 4th floor window. They'd have us committed. The sun came up, and for a few hours we thought we could breathe. But the handprint is still there. And just an hour ago, when the light hit it right, we saw the new carving. Right beneath the word, looking. It's another single word, scratched deep into the wood. Open. Sunset is in less than an hour. The sky is already turning that bruised purple color again. We can hear something outside. Not a tapping. A scratching. Like it's trying to find a purchase on the bricks.